Welcome back to day 2 of the Unisa Accounting Professionals Workshop. I am Nungabe Telezi, and I will be the co-host for the first half of the program this morning. So to begin with, may we please have Miss Masera Medipale, who is going to be opening up the program today, welcome us and provide the purpose of the day. Miss Masera is a student counselor at Unisa for the Val Regional Service Center.
May I warmly welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. This is our second day of our accounting workshop. Today we have different speakers who have opted or agreed to share with us the information that we need, that our students. So students, I think you are ready. You've got a pen and paper so that as you are listening, you can jot down everything that you want to ask our guest speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome you.
Let us just begin and start our day off with Letum Keze, who is from SAICA and is going to be speaking on the Associate General Accountant Professional Qualification in South Africa. Letu is a Project Director of Learning and Development. He is responsible for SAICA's pre-qualification pathway towards becoming an Associate General Accountant in South Africa. He holds a Business Accountant and an Accountant Technician designations, and he is a passionate education and development researcher.
My name is Letu. Thank you very much for that intro. As you would know, we did a presentation yesterday on the CA designation. As SAICA as a professional body, we've got 3 designations. I'll touch on the 2 of them quickly, specifically on the AGA. And so basically our model that we have as SAICA, we're targeting more your finance ecosystem within an entity. So we looked in terms of the strategic level, your management level, and obviously in terms of your functional or foundational area. So as SAICA, we've got the CA, Mr. Tembile spoke about it yesterday, and then we've got our mid-tier designation, then we've got our what we call our technical level, right? So I'm just going to be moving very fast because I've got a lot of slides, but I'm just going to touch on key aspects. So where you do have questions, please just be able to put in the chat or be able to ask me. Okay, so I'll start quickly in terms of the accounting and technician designation. So here, basically, in simplicity, just to explain this is a person who's got your highest certificate in accounting sciences, your advanced certificates, got your diploma, in even probably with your degree. They've gone through a 12 months of learnership, registered with your CETA, and then upon completion of that, they can be able to come to SAICA and be able to apply for or to want to professionalize those particular competencies that they would have developed in terms of their work and theory. They can then be able to come to SAICA and then apply. Those people who come through that, so your higher certificates in accounting sciences, advanced certificates, your diplomas, even possibly a degree in QF high, level 5 and above, 12 months of learnership, can be able to come to SAICA upon completion of that and then apply for this designation, right? And then what will happen is that you'll undergo something called a test of professional competence. So where specifically it speaks to you students, if you look at the orange parts, that's where it speaks to you. From there, then the test of professional competence, it's more of an assessment in terms of your theory and that practice that you would have developed or accumulated during the 12 months, more around accounting level 2 and a bit of accounting level 3 in terms of theoretically, right? The second route that we have, again, from the orange, NQF level 5, higher certificates, advanced certificate, diplomas, even with your degree. If you've got 24 months working experience, forgive us, that registered learnership should have been corrected. 24 months work experience. If you've got more than 24 months work experience, you have a qualification, NQF level 5 and above. You can apply at SAICA again. You'd be subjected to a test of professional competence to assess your competencies. And then you pass that 50% and above. Initially, we said 75, but 50% above in terms of the pass mark, and then you'll be awarded this designation. Okay. Alternatively, if you have about 5 years working experience, you've got the higher certificate, you've got your diploma, and let's say you've not professionalized yourself anywhere in terms of any other accounting body, we can be able to offer you that. You would submit to SAICA, we do an analysis of your CV, we ask for corroboration, we do our own quality assurance check, and then where we find ourselves sufficiently satisfied, we can then be able to award you that accounting technician. So the main benefits in terms of that, obviously, it's far more than just the designations, far more than just being a bookkeeping designation, right? So looking around in terms of the technical financial accountant, you're looking in terms of your clerical work, being able to recognize, transaction, interpret, be able to deal to a certain extent with or limited extent with your compilations. And so these are some of the work that you can be able to do. SAICA is an RCB in terms of SARS, your regulatory controlling body, so you can also perform in terms of tech administration work in that. And obviously I can share the slides after the presentation. So these are some of the things that you can see that you can perform, and mainly it's for those technicians and at ground level, just to assist for management and at strategic level, and particularly with our CPD. So in terms of AGA, this is a mid-tier mid-tier designation that we offer, and mainly normally just for purposes of presentation. I love to use this presentation. It's much easier from a perspective of understanding. So we've got, as you know, we've got your CA accredited programs. Unisa has got. So if you've done a CA accredited degree, be it either BComs in financial accounting or BAC or BCom in accounting that's accredited by SAICA for CA purposes, we've currently introduced for AGA accredited degrees or degrees that are accredited for AGA purposes. So let's say, for example, as you can see, Route 1, Route 2, you did a BCom accounting science or BCom financial accounting science at Unisa. You've done 3 years of articles or 36 months of articles. There's no need for you to do an assessment. You are eligible to register as an AGA. So you've got your BCom, your BAC, or your BComs, or your BCom in financial accounting science, or you got your degree, non-accredited degree, and you did an advanced diploma in accounting science accredited for bridging purposes. You can come to SAICA, 36 months of your training, directly you're eligible to register with us as an AGA. You might have the degree, you decide for whatever reasons didn't complete your training, or you didn't do training at all, and you've got 48 months working experience, right? You can still apply at SAICA, and then you will be subjected to something called the training equivalence assessment. So that's an assessment where we assess your competencies to see if they're at least in line or you've developed in line to our training program. So we'll open that in March and in August. So you did your degree, don't have training, you've got 48 months of relevant working experience, you can apply at SAICA, and then you'd be subjected to this assessment, found competent into that assessment, or you demonstrate competencies, you can then be able to be eligible to register with us as an AGA. Also, for where we've accredited AM degrees, academic programs for purposes of AGA, if you can look at the bottom here, we've got that UJ, WITS, CUT, UFS, and EDUVOS. We're hoping that Unisa we can get in the long term, program director. So you've got a degree that is accredited for AGA purposes. And how do you get that? You go to SAICA website, we list all the different qualifications or programs that lead to that particular qualification for purposes of AGA. Again, our training is still the same. The training for CA and the AGA is still the same. So you did that degree, you did the training, 36 months, directly eligible to register with us as an AGA, or you've got 48 months working experience, the same as your CA program or the CA degree or degree accredited for CA purposes. So if you got your training, eligible to register with us. But if you did not do your training, you've got 48 months of relevant working experience, you can then be able to apply at SAICA. Either you can through that in terms of my email, or there's a link in the website, you can email, and then we'd give you templates. We assess your eligibility, we give you templates, and then there's a submission that you give in terms of that. So that's the assessment. You may belong to another professional body. We've been finding that the others who are coming from different professional bodies you hold a degree, you can be able to come and register and apply at SAICA. You've got more than 48 months relevant working experience. Again, you'd be subjected to the assessments. So you're coming from a particular professional body, you're holding a degree, because our qualification model, same as the CA, it holds, the age in particular holds in terms of an underlying degree. So the person has to have a degree, either a bachelor's degree, either an honors degree, or other master's degree, but they have to have a degree. So you're coming from another professional body. You can apply at SAICA, you want to have a dual membership, or you decide to convert. If you've got relevant 48 months relevant working experience, then you can apply at SAICA, and then you'll be subjected through in terms of the assessments. Or you're coming from a foreign country, you're coming from a different country, you're holding a degree, you're a professional accountant or an accountant from that country, you're coming to South Africa and you want to be associated with us. Again, we assess 48 months relevant working experience. So a degree, if it's a CA or an AEG accredited degree you've done through training, it's very simple. You go directly in terms of, but if not, you'll be subjected through an assessment, which that assessment takes the shape of a portfolio of evidence. Okay. So these routes that you're seeing on your screen are the actual routes that I've just explained, and I found it much easier for a person basically to understand in what I've just shown them. So basically things that you can be able to perform, obviously you perform independent reviews just as how other accountants are able to do. You can be able to commission or become a tax practitioner. The nice thing about this, just in summary, just to give 3 reasons why, if you look at the AGA designation is almost equivalent to what, if you look at other professional bodies, professional accounting bodies that we have in South Africa, what they would be their first or their top tier designation, the AGA for us is at that particular level. So it gives you that particular competitive edge. That's the one thing. So you're associated with SAICA. We've got international mobility, so it allows you in terms of reciprocities. We have currently finalized in terms of reciprocities with other member bodies of IFAC, and all of those that were part of the GAA, which were part of your G8 kind of scenario of your accounting professional bodies. We're looking in terms of their mid-tier designation. So it will allow you that particular mobility. I am aware currently, I've been just looking last week in terms of the number of members who are AGAs or international. It's alarming. It's really, really increasing. From a CA perspective, 25% of our membership already overseas. So it will give you that edge competitively in terms of international mobility, also in terms of international recognition of the designation. The nice thing also, if you're an AGA, the same technical services and resources that we provide for a chartered accountant, you're exposed to, you get. There's no level of differentiation. The main difference, probably you're asking yourself, is what is the key differentiation between a CA and an AGA? From a theoretical and a technical perspective, is the CA would have done a PGDA, would have gone through in terms of advanced accounting, or in case of Unisa, advanced applied accounting, advanced taxation, With an AGA, they can end at a degree level. The competency framework and how we've structured our qualification, there are 3 elements that make it up. 2 of them, they're identically the same with the CA. The difference only comes in terms of the technical component. So it really gives you that particular edge in terms of South Africa. We continuously reviewing competency framework, and I can really tell you that it positions you just at the same level as a CA in terms of the technical work that you'll be getting.
Thank you so much for an awesome presentation. Actually, this was my first time hearing about AGA SA. So I wanted to know, because most companies basically advertise, SAICA training contracts, and it's just general, like SAICA training contracts. How are the AGA SA training contracts advertised? And do you know any specific companies that offer these training contracts? Because I just haven't seen them at all.
Okay.
So
No, that's fine. So, thanks for that great question. First of all, so as I said, let me just put up our training program is a psycho training program. So, it's not necessarily back in the old days, we should say CA or a CA clerk. It's a psycho clerk. It's the same training as for your AG and CA. And if we go into the integrities, it's really based right now the assessment of the trainee. It's within a technical context, but you assess in terms of what we define as your soft skills. So it's the same. I am aware, for example, I don't want to seem as if I'm advertising certain companies here, but I'll make an example of a big four company. In fact, there are two. One of them, they've got about 45 trainees who are specifically for AGA purposes. It's a big four. It's a big four accounting and auditing firm. As you know, we've got that accounting and audit consultation and auditing. There's about 45. They've directly recruited for AGA purposes. By AGA purposes, I mean they've gone and said those who've got a degree, CA or AGA accredited, and want to become AGAs. So there is that. We are in a drive for the next 80 to 36 months in terms of looking of how we can work with the firms. Currently, in terms of the stats, the data that's telling us, primarily there's a large cohort in your small and medium firms. So if you go to our website, there's a list of about 692 training officers, if I'm not mistaken, 700 something right about there. If you go to your small and medium in particular, you'll be able to find that, and you just be able to send them an email, because at Psycho, we don't advertise your training officers. They'll be able to give you that information. If you've got a Psych accredited degree or an AG accredited degree, there are some firms who are still trying to grapple with it because they don't have a full understanding with it. We understand. We just recently reintroduced this designation back in 2016. So there is still that freshness about it and still trying to understand in it and what have you. But I'm telling you now, majority of those who are members, they're coming from training. And I'm not talking about those who didn't pass the ITC or failed the ITC, I'm talking about those directly. So EY, Deloitte, I've just mentioned them, and your small, medium firms are really coming up to in terms of the AGA. So from the advertisement part, I would recommend go to the website, or you can even email me and say, Letu, in this region I'm at, specifically, where do you see a predominance of those intake from the AGA, and then I can be able to help you out. I don't want to seem as if I'm advertising companies here. Yeah.
And thank you so much. And so I guess just as a follow-up, can you be both an AG ASA and a CASA? So basically like a double qualification.
No, it can't, because these are qualification pathways that are very different to each other. So for example, and I'm just making an example to you, once the person goes to the NQF level 8, they might have the NQF level 7, but the recognition is in the NQF level 8. I'm just making an example. So the CA, once you go to, you can articulate from AGA to CA. That is possible, but you can't be a CA because the AJ is a mid-tier. The CA is more kind of your strategic higher level. So once you get to that level, you can't say I'm a doctor and decide to call me a nurse. I'm just making an example so you can understand better. So it's kind of bit that scenario. So the CA designation, the qualification pathway, is more rigorous than the AGA, not necessarily because the AGA is lower, but from a perspective of functionality. So it's mid-tier, it's mid-level. Once you go CA, you thank God for having been AJ, now you're a CA. So you can't be an AJ and CA. Once you're CA, you're a CA. But you can articulate from AGA to CA because CA is kind of a bit of a higher level.
One of my first times hearing a bit more about the AG ASA qualification. My question is, one, what do Big Four firms tend to think about Unisa Bachelor of Accounting Science graduates? And two, let me quickly check the chat. Sorry, I forgot my second question. What accounting software do you think we should learn that would help us in the workplace?
All right. I'm program director. I'm not gonna necessarily talk on behalf of the firms. So my response to that would be very limited. But what I can tell you from a psycho perspective, Unisa is very critical. One, based on the number of the production of supply of trainees we're getting from Unisa. Secondly, you'll remember in a couple of years or months, there was that issue that came up and the newspaper and what have you. You saw how many firms stood up because of the fact, the role that UNISA plays from in terms of the accredited bridging program. Currently, psych has got 3 forms of tiers when it comes to training: 36 months, 48 months, and 60 months. So you've got people who directly leave matric and go into psych training programs. Those people, majority, if not all of them, are studying in UNISA. And that's, you're looking at a good cohort of almost about 15 to 15% of the training population. So UNIS is critical in terms of training production and training supply. So it's critical. So from a psych perspective, I can't speak in terms of the firm. The accounting software, I think, again, it's very with the new with this accounting with your artificial intelligence is coming in. Firms use different types of softwares. So again, Sarah, I'm going to be very limited in my response in providing saying to you, listen, use Zero or use Sage or use this, use that, use this. It really depends when you come into the entity. I know, for example, Unisa uses strongly in terms of Sage, for example. I'm aware there's another one that just recently used. So I don't want to seem as if I'm advertising any form of software, but when you get into an entity or when you get into a firm, you get into a company, you realize that there are a lot of firms. There's new auditing software that right now has been recently being introduced, right? So it will really, it's entity specific. If I were to just tell you that, what I can say is that Unisa aligns to our competency framework with what we require in terms of digital acumen. So I'm really confident in the basis of what they provide. Okay, let me say this. Let me close this. Say this: that SAICA, when it accredits a qualification or a program, the requirement is that that provider or that institution needs to meet our minimum requirements in terms of competency framework. So when at an entry into the profession, whether you go to Deloitte, whether you go to a small firm, whether you go to Auditor General, whether you go to the public sector, that the minimum framework required in terms of the skills and the knowledge you meet. So I'm very certain if that was the case, we'll lock the accredited UNISA. So you are at the same, what you could probably want to do if you're probably a UNISA graduate or a UNISA student, you must say, with the free time that I have, how can I be able to complement it with some kind of practical experience where can I do kind of bookkeeping, can I assist the clerical work and what have you. I think that's my long and short. I'll leave my email, put my email address in. If you want other further clarity of questions, I'm willing to assist and hold a discussion with you.
So now we have Ramona Rampasad, who is from the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants.
My name is Ramona Rampasad. I am Business Development Manager for CIMA South Africa. Today I'm going to speak to you about CIMA, Chartered Institute of Management Accounting, which is a management accounting professional body, which is globally recognized. But before I continue, I'm just going to play a little video for you.
Our story is one of choices. Choices that have helped us focus on what matters most to make things better.
For 100 years, CIMA has been serving management accountants to take businesses further and make them stronger. Our members are moving from trusted business partners to co-pilots of transformation. But disruptive forces are at work. Businesses are faced with radically new technologies. Their markets are going digital. Their customers growing skeptical. Computers are not far from overtaking human potential. The future of businesses will be decided by the capabilities of finance professionals. Our choice is to power a digital skill set and a future-ready mindset. The ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn, rather than purely technical knowledge, will define a finance professional's future success. We enable management accountants to be navigators of disruption and drivers of trust, opportunity, and prosperity in a complex world. Management accountants will have to be early adopters of new technology, adapt to constant change and evolving business models globally, and move from controlling costs to creating value. Our story is one of choices. We've chosen to lead the transformation beyond insights, beyond limits, beyond expectations. This is the future of finance. Welcome.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about CIMA. CIMA was created in 1919. CIMA's history has evolved to meet the changing needs of finance and finance professionals within the public and private sector. And as CIMA ushers into the new era into history, with the consolidation of our venture with the AICPA to form a single association and one of the largest, most influential accounting bodies globally, we continue this journey. So we've got members and students collective population of over 650,000, where we have an influential voice across this profession. CIMA will remain an independent body, membership body, but as part of the association, we are able to spread the best of management accounting more effectively, primarily through our CPD resources, ensuring to continue to influence decision-making. Hello?
Colleagues, may we please be reminded to mute our mics so that we do not have any interruptions. Please, may you continue, Ms. Rampasad?
Sure, thank you. So we basically become the influential decision-making with makers between the public and private sector. So to us at CIMA, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And given the challenging employability context we face in South Africa, we take the question of employability, formal sector, and self-employment very seriously. And we see this as a means of lighting a fire. We also surfaced some insight that truly represents the pace of the race between technology and education in the future of work. How scary is the stats? Which puts into perspective the scope and the pace of change ahead of us to remain relevant. In doing so, we also interrogated the following 4 questions to meet the race between technology and education and the future of work with man versus automation. CIMA does a lot of research and we change our syllabus on a regular basis. And the reason why we do this is to make sure that our members and our students are equipped with the updated knowledge in order for them to be relevant in the day-to-day workplace. So these are the questions. So when we do our research, we basically approach companies globally, CFOs, executives, finance managers, business heads. So we get we get information from every different division head within the organization globally. Okay, and these are the questions that we posed to these individuals. What challenges do your organizations face? What performance would organizations require to meet these challenges? What competencies are needed to achieve performance at the desired level? How much learning be organized to enable these competencies? And this is our findings. So our findings concluded that the shape of the finance function is changing rapidly, and those at the occupation at the base of the pyramid that you can see on the screen will most likely become automated. Having said that, new occupations will emerge within the finance function, especially at the apex. We at CIMA are proud to be able to say that we have organized learning within the CIMA qualification to enable the competencies to be ready for those new and not yet emerged occupations. So I want you to just take a few seconds to just look at the slide, because this slide is a good example for you to see how the finance function within the organizations are changing. So with the advance of digitalization with finance over recent years, and the 21st vision for shared services, traditional accounting and some analysis roles are being threatened. This transition allows management accountants to focus on strategic decisions, performance management, and identifying and identify and implement value and cost savings. This view was one of the key guiding principles as CIMA and SAICA entered into the membership pathway agreement. When McKinsey estimations of automations are overlaid with the basic finance activities and the broad roles, it becomes clear that activities carried out in isolation in the finance function are at risk. It reveals that the opportunities for finance professionals is at the management end rather than the accounting side of the basic financial activities. This yields a move away from the more automatable activities of assembling data to providing information and turning data analysis into insights, to areas that current technology is unable to automate. These include advising through stakeholder interaction and applying expertise to help with impactful decision-making. So under the astute leadership of Dr. Noel Tager, who led the research, we surfaced insights ahead of the pact to align jobs, performance, competencies, and learning solutions. So by registering with the CIMA qualification, you will be well positioned for employability, career progression in the future of finance in any industry sector, as well as employability. The CIMA qualification opens up a world of possibilities for you. Okay, so now that I've given you context, the next slide basically shows you in our 20 19 syllabus change. These are some of the topics that we've included, where you wouldn't have thought that a financial function would need to know these topics, but it's actually relevant as a business partner to the organization that you are familiar with these topics. So this is our competency framework. Our competency framework basically is broken down into 5 parts. We give you the technical financial skills and knowledge. Okay, we equipped you with the business acumen skills. So basically, whether you're in the finance function or whether you're in a business function, you basically will understand both the financial and the business. So when you make financial decisions, you understand the impact or how the business operates, and you will understand the impact of how it will affect business. And when you are in and if you are in business, you will understand every decision that you make, how it affects the financial function of the business. Together with that, we say people skills are important because your people will lead you. Okay, as a good leader, you need to be able to have good people skills, because as a leader, as you come up with a solution, you need your people to basically follow through in order for it to have an impact. Underpinned by, so that's leadership skills. Then the little dot in the center is the new competency that we included, and that's the digital skills. Okay, who would have thought that a CFO is no longer a finance business partner only? He's actually a business partner to the organization. So digital skills is important to a CFO, to a finance function. Okay, underpinned by ethics, integrity, and professionalism. Then the entry level into the qualification is basically your certificate level. Your certificate level could be for anyone coming in from matric, would start off on certificate level. Anyone that has not a trainee, who's got an internship, or someone who has another qualification outside of business and finance, like a doctor, an engineer. They may be a specialist in another function, but the certificate level basically gives them the basic competencies of understanding how to run their business. Okay. This level is made up of 4 modules: the fundamental of business economics, fundamental of management accounting, fundamental of financial accounting, and then the last module is fundamentals of ethics, corporate governance, and business law. Okay, these exams are computer-based exams. We've got over 5,000 exam centers worldwide. The 4 exams are called objective test exams. So we basically test your knowledge. They are 2-hour exams. They are on demand. You get your results immediately. Then we move on to the actual professional qualification. The professional qualification is made up of 3 levels. You've got your operational level, which is your doers. The operational level, these are the people that are actually doing the function. Okay, here you are doing the trial balance. Here you are actually doing the basic financial component work. Then and each level is broken down into 3 objective test exams, right? Which is organizational management, management accounting, and financial reporting and management. These objective test exams are written throughout the year. They are computer-based exams. You get your results immediately, and your objective test exams test your theory knowledge. After every objective test exam, we have a case study exam that's been included. Your case study exam is basically, so one of the things that we've discovered is when we were doing the research, companies were saying it's all good and well that we have graduates or individuals coming into the organization with the knowledge, but they have no idea how to apply the knowledge in a real working environment. So what we've done is we included at every level a case study exam. So your case study exam is basically bringing your 3 pillars together in a real world work environment scenario. Okay, so going back to the 3 different levels, so we've got your operational level, your management level. Your management level, basically, you should be, or the knowledge testing is at middle management level, short-term business goals, strategic goals. Okay, so you find that your technical knowledge percentage drops at management level, and maybe your people management skills sort of increase, knowledge base increases here or gets tested at this level. Then at strategic level, you are now at senior management level. Your knowledge is tested on senior executive level, business long-term strategy, business strategy. Okay. So as you can see at each level, there's 3 objective test exams, and then there's a case study exam. When you enter, after you've completed each level, your operational case study exam, you will receive a CIMA Diploma in Management Accounting. When you complete the management level, you will receive an advanced diploma in management accounting. And then when you complete your strategic case study exam, you do not receive anything. You will then need to have gained 36 months relevant workplace experience. Then you can apply for your ACMA as well as your CGMA designation. So let me just take one step back. So you've got 3 different levels, and then you've got 3 different pillars. Okay, you've got the financial pillar, which basically looks at the efficiency of financial accounting and reporting on the 3 different levels. Okay, you've got the performance pillar, which is your P pillar, that looks at budgeting, decision-making, risk management. Okay, and then the enterprise pillar looks at, it emphasizes on change management, project management, relationship management. Okay, so your objective test exams are written throughout the year. You get your results immediately. Your case study exams are written 4 times a year. Okay, you have an option to write it. There's 4 options per year. It's in February, May, August, and November. These exams, you are given a pre-scene. You go and you do research on your pre-scene. You come back into the exam room. You write on that particular pre-scene, depending on when you're sitting. These exams are human marked, because obviously here we're testing your knowledge, how you apply your knowledge. So these are human marks. You get your results 6 weeks later. Okay, so going back to after completing your strategic case study exam, you will then need 36 months relevant workplace experience, and then you will receive 2 designation. Your ACMA, which is your Associate Chartered Management Accounting designation, which is globally recognized, excluding in America. And then you've got your CGMA designation, which is Chartered Global Management Accounting designation, which is globally recognized, including in America. Okay. This is a snippet of the practical workplace experience requirement component. And then as a CIMA member, you can actually apply to become a tax practitioner. And when you qualify as a member, a designation, when you're holding the designation ACMA, CGMA, you can apply to be a business rescue practitioner, a member in practice, and you can sign up to be a commissioner of oath. Okay, you just and then after you receive your ACMA, CGMA designation, you can then apply for your FCMA, CGMA designation. Your FCMA is a fellow, which is you need to have, after you got your relevant 36 months experience, you then need another 4 senior management experience in order to become a fellow. Okay. And I think, thank you.
The person Kolofelo is asking, is it possible for someone to be CIMA and SAICA?
Yes. So, with the current MOU between CIMA and SAICA, so if you are a qualified CIMA, right, you can apply for exemptions as long as there's obviously terms and conditions. You're a CIMA in good standing with SAICA, CIMA qualified in good standing with SAICA. No, wait, let me just get this right. So if you're a CASA qualified in good standing with SAICA, you can apply to study CIMA, and you only write the strategic case study exam, board exam. So there's obviously terms and conditions to that, but you'll apply with SAICA and you get to write the one exam. Same, if you're a CASA, you can apply with CIMA and you get to write the strategic case study exam. Let me just, if you're a CASA and you apply with CIMA, you write the strategic case study exam. If you're a CIMA and you apply with SAICA, you get to write the APC exam. Sorry, I think I got confused myself there. But either way, but you have to be a qualified CASA. So if you're an AGA, you can come in via our RPL pathway route. RPL meaning we take into consideration your workplace experience qualification, and you can be awarded exemptions. But if you're a CASA qualified, yes, either way you can. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Ramona. I noted that Leto raised his hand. I don't know whether, since he is from SAICA, I don't know whether he wanted to provide clarification as well to support some of the response that you've just given. Leto?
No problem.
No, don't worry. Ramona's covered. I work with her on this. So I just wanted to just indicate that it has to be, it's membership exclusive. So the person has to either complete the pathway of becoming a CIMA and then convert through to CA, or complete the CA route, then convert to CIMA, and then the true membership was just that. Thanks.
The next question is from Guandu, who is asking, what's the difference between FLP and the normal exam route?
Okay, so the normal route with CIMA qualification, which historically was always, this is the student's journey. The student would register with CIMA, they will apply for exemptions, or they'll start off from certificate level. Depending where you're going to start off with, you will then, each one of this is an exam. So you will basically book your exam, you will either do self-study or you go to a tuition provider to prepare for this exam, and then you go, you sit, you write the exam, right, on each objective test exam. Then you qualify to write the case study exam, and then you move on to the next level, right? So basically, you register, you apply for exemptions. Depending where you're going to start, you're going to purchase books for that subject, and you're going to go for classes for that subject in order to prepare for this exam. And this is an actual exam that you will sit and write at an exam center, and then you will have to pass it before you move on. Now with FLP. When COVID hit, what SEMA has done is they actually came up with the financial leadership program. So it's an e-learning platform for students. The model is, so if I refer to normal studying, we refer to it as PQ, professional qualification, right? With financial leadership program, it's subscription purchases. Okay, so you will either purchase a 1-year subscription, 2-year subscription, or 3-year subscription. But within that year subscription, you could actually work through all of your exams. Then the e-learning platform. So you receive your study material, you work through your study material, and the objective test exams are not done in a form of or completed in a form of an exam, but is completed in a form of an assessment. So as you go work through the material, you will then complete the assessments that come with it, and then you move on to the next topic. Okay, and then you only write the case study exam like a normal exam. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. It's just the journey that you're going to take, but the end result is exactly the same. You've got to go through all 3 levels. You've got to get your workplace experience, and then you apply for ACMA CGMA designation. The only difference is the journey that you're going to take. With PQ, each one of these objective tests is an exam that needs to be passed. With FLP, these exams are done in a form of an assessment, and you can actually work quicker through your studies. You can actually have, I mean, we've got students now that are completing their studies between 6 to 9 months. Okay, yeah, so that's basically the difference.
Thank you. So our next speaker is Nogo Maswangani, who will be giving us her experience and talking to us as a profession, on the profession as a management accountant. Nogo Maswangani is currently serving as Superintendent Finance at Sibanye Stillwater and has 10 years experience in the mining industry. She completed her BCom honors degree in management accountancy at the Northwest University in 2012. She is a passionate young professional and enjoys working as a management accountant. With that, may Ms. Nogo please take over the stage.
Here in front of you, it's Nogo Maswangani, and I work as a superintendent finance, as illustrated in my introduction. So I'm sure on this call we have a lot of young people who are wondering how it is in the workspace, how to actually navigate around it, and what is expected as from employees and stuff. So I'm just going to give you a brief indication of my experience. In the 10 years in the mining industry, I've worked at Impala Platinum Mine, at Lonmin PLC, and then now I'm at Sibanye Stillwater. So as a management accountant, what happens is the difference between that and being a normal, what can I call a reporting accountant, is that you have to be a person that thinks about what happens in the business. You have to be a person who's an advisor to the business. So you don't sit behind your computer the whole time punching numbers and only looking at historical information. So the nice thing about it is that you have the opportunity to engage with different end users and stakeholders, understand the business, what's happening on the ground, so that you can provide informed support and as a management accountant on what needs to happen going forward. And then the other thing that's there is that you're a person who has to sort out all the business plans, the forecasting, you analyze the financials and provide advice on how to actually proceed going forward. So short-term and long-term strategic decisions that need to be done in the company, you are the person who's there to advise the CEO on how to move forward, or the general manager who's there to, who needs to make a decision going forward. So what you deal with is you also work with business cases, whether or not we should continue producing in a certain mining operation, or whether or not they should stop at certain operation. Should we retrench? Should we increase on productivity in certain areas, and so on? So it's quite diverse in actually being a management accounting. It's like you use your brain outside. You have to think outside the box the whole time. You can't just think as an accountant. You have to be a management accountant. I remember in the past, someone explained it to us and said, being a management accountant, it's almost like incorporating what a CA would do and what an MBA person would do. So I think that will be more of an explanation of what a CIMA person does actually. So a management accountant, the best, body to pursue is doing your CIMA. So yeah, that's just a breakdown of what I do and what a management accountant does. So I'm just going to also provide advice to new young people going into the workspace. What I've observed with young people coming in is that they have a difficulty with putting together what they actually learned at school and putting it into a practical aspect. So a simple thing like what you do with a journal, what is the purpose of it? It's a simple thing of looking at your debits and credits and incorporating that in a workspace. So you overthink everything, and at the end of the day, you think that you don't know what is happening in the business because everything just looks new. So what I would advise is that just take a step back, look at what is being required at that specific time, and see how you incorporate what you learned into the business. So as a management accountant, you work a lot. I think you guys know about ABC costing. So mining is similar to manufacturing, where you use ABC costing. But when you get to the workspace and they tell you run a variable report, where you're using your production numbers to actually allocate the budgets to the different entities, and you end up being shocked and frozen and wondering how you can pursue going forward. So the simple thing is just saying, okay, ABC costing, what is it about? It's actually allocating certain deliverables to your budgets and moving forward. So those are the simple things that I want to just advise you guys. And the other thing is that young people get to the workspace and they want to be behind that desk. They don't engage with supervisors or people that have been there for a long time. So what I would advise is that always ask the next person, what are you doing? What does it mean? In that way, you're going to grow and develop the way you need to develop in that working space. So, yeah, so being a management accountant, I enjoy it a lot because it's really unpredictable. On a daily basis, you're dealing with different things that you have to help the business. What do you call? You have to help the business make decisions on a daily basis for different things, whether small or big. So for me, it's a very unpredictable job, and that's what I enjoy about it. It's there, and I think my Ramona spoke about what is required in the business, what is required for a SEMA person, and she mentioned digital spaces. So having a strong Microsoft Office background helps a lot. And there's someone who asked about which accounting systems you should know in the workspace. And for me, for that one, it's every business has its own accounting systems. So it's a matter of just getting in there and learning whatever is there and being flexible on and being available to grow in that different space. So yeah, I hope I made it clear and enjoyable for everyone to say that a management accountant, it's an unpredictable space where you apply your mind the whole time. And it's not just about reporting, it's also about analyzing. So, yeah, I hope you guys are encouraged. And one day you would want to be a management accountant. And I'm available for any questions.
Mbilo says, can I apply for a management accountant job with a taxation specialized qualification? If you may please respond, Ms. Maswangani.
Yes, Mpilo, you can do that. There are a lot of people who are economists as well, who are in the management accounting space. So it's not limiting. So it's a matter of actually being able to, as a junior person, being able to willing to learn and grow in that space, and making yourself available to understand what's happening in the workspace. But after that, I would advise to maybe do a postgrad in something relating to that as well. For someone starting in a manufacturing company, so how do you manage the workload? So for just I think mining industry also has a lot of workload. What I usually tell my juniors as they're starting from university and they're coming into the business is that if you want to grow, you need to actually put extra time to understand your workload, to understand your work, and put systems in place to make your life, your work, what do you call, shorter and simpler. Because sometimes it's not a matter of workload that's a lot. It's a matter of how long do you take to complete the job. So what you need to do is create your own what do you call, systems that can actually help you to reduce the time that you're actually doing the work. But what you need to do with that is work extra time in your own personal space to be able to, what do you call, reduce the time for that, and then it'll make it easier for you to manage your workload.
May you also please respond to the same question, but they're asking from an auditing qualification point of view.
Yeah, it's similar to what I said with the taxation part. It's just a matter of when you're in there, you need to try and get a postgrad so that you can be able to manage it better and understand it better.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have really appreciated hearing your insights from your personal experience within this profession. With that, colleagues, I would like to, we are running, ahead of time, which makes me really happy. I would like to now introduce Mrs. Vilna de Bruin, who's going to be giving us a presentation with regard to information from SITE, which is the South African Institute of Taxation. I hope I've pronounced that abbreviation correctly. And Mrs. Vilna, there are people who have been asking about taxation from yesterday. So I hope that you guys will be happy to receive her and receive her presentation. Mrs. Vilna is the head of education at the South African Institute of Taxation. Her focus at SITE is the progression pathways from scholar, student, and article clerk to joining the professional membership society. She's a highly motivated team member, benefiting from experience in the competitive professional body and event management services industries. She obtained her postgraduate diploma in business management in 2023 and holds a tax technician diploma. Mrs. De Bruin is passionate about quality assurance and innovation within the professional body and education landscape. With that, over to you, Mrs. Vilner.
Thank you so much, Program Director. I appreciate that introduction. I'm going to take you through, as you've said, through the career pathways that is available to tax technicians and tax advisors, from scholar or student all the way to membership with the South African Institute of Taxation. And you did pronounce that correctly. Thanks for that. Just a little bit more about SITE. We are the largest professional body within taxation that holds tax practitioners. Essentially, you need to have your tax practitioner number if you would like to do people's tax affairs. And SARS has granted us that authorization as a controlling body to regulate tax practitioners. We play quite a leading role in developing policy and shaping the legislation, and we're very influential over there. And then all our designations are registered with SAQA. And essentially what that means is that if you get a designation from SITE, this designation is unique to us, and you would not be able to get the same designation from any other professional body. So it's one designation per body in the country. So that also makes it a very prestigious if you do belong to us. Some of our benefits when you are a member are listed on this slide, and to highlight a few is that we do offer a tax helpline, which is an excellent service if you've got any technical queries. We've got various subject matter experts that assist our members on their queries, whether it's a compliance or an operational or an opinion piece. All of that we can assist our members with. We've got various events and CPD offerings that we include to our members, and we continue to grow what we provide our members with. There's some publications, and then obviously also our members do become Commissioner of Oaths and receive indemnity insurance. We also have the service of then providing our members with their tax practitioner number. That's automatically included in our membership services. Now, you may wonder, how do you become a member? And membership criteria is based basically on two depending factors, one of it being your years of experience and the other being your academic qualifications. So depending on these two elements, you'd then determine where you'd fit in to our membership designations. We do have a student membership as well, and I'll speak to this at the end of my slides. Student membership obviously does not come with tax practitioner status, but the designations that you can currently see are those that come with your tax practitioner status. And as I said, these are like the fancy titles that you would be able to put behind your name when you belong to any of these designations. Starting off with the tax technician practitioner, let me get my highlighter over there. This is for anybody with either 5 years or 3 years tax articles. They can achieve this designation, plus an NQF 5 or an NQF 6 if you do the articles. Then that articulates into the general tax practitioner. That's for anybody with their degree, so an NQF 7. Then we have tax advisor, which I will focus on a little bit today. It's for anybody doing as well their 3 years tax articles as well as their NQF level 8, so their honors. And then we move on to our chartered tax advisor, which is the internationally recognized designation that is at the moment for anybody with 10 years tax experience and their NQF 9. We also have a couple of specializations. So there is a transfer pricing specialist and a few custom designations as well, depending on your speciality. Now, from that slide, you will notice that we do have these various professional body membership levels, but we also have qualifications. So QCTO accredited qualifications, and these qualifications essentially is different to a university or a Unisa qualification purely because of the fact that it's got a trade component in it. So you would need to satisfy a work experience component and articles in order to get to these qualifications. But when you get there, the NQF is exactly the same. So the level of recognition, that versus any university qualification is the same. We've got the tax technician, which is on NQF level 6, and then we also have the tax professional on NQF level 8. And again, so if you would study towards the NQF 8 qualification, that'll be seen as equal to an honors or a postgraduate diploma in tax. If you are already completing your honors in taxation with Unisa, then there is no requirement for you to repeat that. We are in conversations with Unisa, very actively in conversations with them, that the two curriculums are aligned, and therefore you don't have to repeat anything that you've done at Unisa. You can simply come through and do your tax articles and become a member of SITE at the end of the day. So I just want to take you through a little bit more detail in explaining your route from qualifying as a student and then obviously becoming a member. If we look at this slide now, let me have a look. I'm going to take my pen. If you look at the slide, you would have your postgraduate diploma in taxation or your honors in taxation currently at a non-approved university, but that's soon going to change. As I said, we are discussing this with Unisa. So you'd have your NQF level 8. If you have an alternative, so perhaps you only have your degree or you have your NQF 6, then there's a route for you as well. So have a look at these slides. I'm not going to speak about them too in detail now, but have a look at them because there isn't a way for you to also become a tax advisor member at the end of the day. Now, your first point of contact after you've qualified and received your qualification from Unisa would be to secure employment. So to start that tax article journey with an employer. If you are able to secure a job with employers that offer tax articles, then that would obviously be first prize. But if you don't and you find a job and they do not necessarily offer tax articles, get in touch with us, because we would love to get them on board and get them approved to offer tax articles. The process isn't very difficult to get them on board. And then we would be able to recognize everything that you do within your article period or within that employer, so it can count towards this designation. The articles is a 3-year duration. And as we've seen there from route 1 and route 2 at the top, we would refer to this route as the designation route. If you've got a lower NQF, then you'd be going through the qualification route on the other side. And just on that, you would then basically study part-time while you work at somebody that we refer to as a skills development provider, an SDP. So you would study part-time with them and then obtain this qualification at the same time whilst completing your articles. But if you now already have your NQF 8, and you then just simply need to satisfy the articles component and the work experience. SITE, as the professional body, would then regulate and monitor your work experience throughout. We've got relationships with the employer, and there's reporting and evaluations that take place throughout the 3 years. And then obviously you need to satisfy some sort of logbook criteria before you can get access to the board exam. Once you've satisfied that, you would write the board exam, which is called the External Integrated Summative Assessment, the ISA assessment. And depending on which route you were, you would receive either your designation and become a tax advisor at the end of the day, or you perhaps would then actually receive this NQF qualification as well, or additionally, if you were on the qualification route, if you plan to study while working. But as I said, there is no need for you to repeat your NQF8 if you already have that from Unisa. You don't need to study as well. You can simply go through the designation route. If we have a look at my next slide, these are just a couple of the employers that is approved and who offers the tax articles. And then they also recruit trainees on a regular basis, and they've got a continuous pipeline of tax article trainees. Now, these firms utilize our recruitment portal. And they make a selection from our recruitment portal to determine who they're going to employ on this learnerships on the tax articles. So the biggest benefit of you becoming a student member is forming part of this recruitment portal. So we connect you as a student with the possible employers that will be taking up tax trainees. So on that note, to become a student member of SITE, you have to be a full-time student, and you could actually be a part-time student. I think the emphasis here would rather be that you're currently doing your honors or your postgraduate diploma in taxation, or alternatively your LLM tax law degree with Unisa. So you need to be in the process of doing that and in your final year, because you'd need to be in the year that you will be looking for a job. So you have to be interested in receiving these kind of vacancies and people contacting you for a job. There is two options of student membership that we have this year. The one being a complimentary membership, and you would just receive some of our tax publications. There's a Tax Chronicle monthly magazine that you'd get access to if you join the complimentary membership. It's always good for us to have your information, and then we can be in contact with you should your mind change and you perhaps have the money available now to join the full membership. So joining as a complimentary student shouldn't be a difficult task. I think that's almost automatic, I would suggest, for all of you. Then a full membership, it's 920 Rand for the year. And as I mentioned, the biggest benefit about all of this is that you join the recruitment portal. So you would complete your detail for us, and all our employers would utilize this platform to make selections from. We then also would email this database if there's any vacancies in the tax area and in this landscape specifically for tax article trainees. And then there's a couple of other benefits as well that's included in this student membership. So please have a look at this. Then my next slide is actually a link to join. So if you want to take out your phone and scan the QR code through, taking a photo or having your camera open, it actually then opens up the QR code option. And then you can leave us your details over there. It's a very quick, I think it's 3 questions that you need to submit. And then we would send you a bit more information about the student membership. So I'm going to leave this up for a couple of minutes and have you click that on or don't. But what I'll also do is I'll share my slides with the Unisa team. So if you have the desire to join at a later stage, you'd have access to this QR code and be able to join as well. Then my very last slide over here is the email address of the Education Department. Let me jump into that. There we go. So if you'd like to send us any questions or queries after today, you're more than welcome to utilize this email address, and we would love to get back to you and discuss your unique progression and pathway to membership. Question: with the research that I've done, firms, offices offering Articles 1 people to already have their NQF8 in tax? Okay, so it's a good question. A majority of the big firms, so the big 4 firms, the big accounting firms, they all, according to their policies, only recruit NQF8 in tax learners. If you have a look at any of your medium firms, small to medium accounting firms in your area, they should be able to recruit on a lower NQF with just simply having your degree, and then you'd follow the route to study while working, because you'd obviously need to satisfy the NQF8 at the moment you become a member. So anybody, I would say, smaller medium firms rather than the larger firms, they only recruit with NQF8s. Any other questions?
You're receiving
Yes.
a few.
Articles, exactly. There's various languages for it. A learnership is articles. It's the same thing. People refer to it in different languages. I've completed and passed the ISA exam, but I'm failing to gain the 3 years training because I'm employed at the municipality. Okay, so unfortunately, you have to have tax specific experience to get this designation with site. The designations with site really do emphasize that you are a tax specialist. Anybody of the public would know if you belong to site, then you must be a serious tax person. So if our membership department see that you've got, say, 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience, but it's not tax. It could be administrative, or it could be more bookkeeping or accounting. And the time that you spent in tax is not specifically tax, or does not equate to the 3 years or to the 5 years. If you look at the other designations, then you will struggle joining a pure tax speciality designation. So unfortunately, you need to have tax specific experience to join site, because that's just really what we are, is we do specialize in that. Can you practice internationally with your site accreditation? So this Chartered Tax Advisor designation is internationally awarded. We received the authority from the Chartered Institute of Tax within the United Kingdom to award this license. So we were granted the license from overseas. And similarly, there's various other professional bodies across the world that's got the same licensing agreement. So because tax is so legislatively bound, you may need to join the other professional body, say in UK, by indicating or proving that you know their tax legislation as well, but they would automatically give you some sort of exemption and recognition because you are a member of site. They would know where you fit in, but you do need to prove that you know that country's tax legislation, and that's the same with any country. If you move around, tax is very specific about the legislation. Do you advertise training programs on your website on behalf of the firms? This is where the student membership comes in. So we advertise these vacancies only to our student membership database. It's an exclusive advertising that we do to the people who belong to site as a student member. And then I did the site program and passed the value-added tax. Can I practice in it? So there is a little bit of confusion, I think, in that question. There is training bodies out there that offer training courses, and you could be mistaken because we don't have a course necessarily on that at site. So I think you may be referring to a training body in your question. And I'd need to understand just the full picture, if I can be honest, to tell you whether you can practice in it or not. We obviously understand that if you find a job that works purely in individual tax, or purely in corporate tax, or purely in trusts and estates, then you are able to specialize. You can become a member and practice in that speciality. You don't have to have experience in all the various tax types. So your 3 years could be in one specific tax type. That's not a problem at all, as long as you do satisfy that minimum years of experience requirement. Should I select the complimentary or full student membership from the QR code? You choose. So the full one, there is a fee payable. Maybe choose the full one, and then we'll get in touch with you, and you can amend that to complimentary if you wish. But the full one really emphasizes that there is a fee payable, and then that is where the recruitment portal comes into play. You are currently enrolled in the Advanced Certificate in Accounting Science. Is there firms we can go apply and get practicing tax training while I'm studying? Yes, there is. There's many firms that employ while studying, especially at Unisa, because that gives you the opportunity to work and study. You just need to have a look at the various firms. On our website, there is a list of the firms who is accredited as article providers, and you can contact them. Go ahead and have a look at that. kindly explain transfer pricing practitioner requirements? I'm currently working at SARS Customs with 10 years experience as tax and customs crimes investigator. How can I? That's wonderful. So good on you and your years of experience. So on the transfer pricing membership criteria, we also do have articles that specialize in transfer pricing. So you would do our logbook that specializes in transfer pricing. And because you've got so many years of experience, there's a process of recognizing your prior experience in an RPL process. And then we would see whether you are eligible to become a transfer pricing specialist member with site. There is a little bit of an exam that you also need to satisfy, but please do send us a mail and we can evaluate the way for you forward.
So we will be having the next presentation from Mrs. Atlahang Majila. I hope I pronounced that well. I've been battling with that one, with the surname, but I hope I presented it well. And she's just going to be sharing on a profession as a tax practitioner. So just a little bit about our presenter. Her name is Atlahang, and she goes by the name Atli. She matriculated in 2014 and has since obtained the following tertiary qualifications. That is, 1, BCom Financial Sciences undergraduate degree in 2017. She also has a BCom Honors in Taxation obtained in 2018, a Master of Philosophy in International Tax in 2020, and finally she qualified as a SAIT tax professional, or SAIT, tax professional in 2021. And in terms of her work experience, she has completed her 3-year tax articles at an audit firm as a transfer pricing and international tax consultant. She's currently nearing her 1-year work anniversary as a transfer pricing assistant manager at Grapevine Economics. So yeah, let's just give her a round of applause as she comes in. I think it's going to be really interesting just hearing from her, because I can see a lot of the questions we had prior, where I guess they really would be asking you almost probably the same questions as well, as this is literally somebody that's done the articles, and yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to hear from you. So thank you so much, and you can take the floor.
So yeah, thank you so much for a lovely introduction. I'm honestly so grateful and so excited to be talking to everyone today, because it's such an exciting point in your career in terms of whether or not you decide to go in the tax career path, which I strongly recommend. So yeah, as Vilna so kindly took us through all the SAIT theoretical aspects, and I'm here to talk more on the practical level as a person who has done the SAIT articles. Just a disclaimer, I did the SAIT articles, the full tax SAIT articles, and not just the transfer pricing ones. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have towards the end of the presentation. So in terms of our agenda for my time slot, I'll do a bit more detailed introduction. Then we're going to head into discussions of entering the work environment, the different tax streams, international tax exposure, work-life balance, and then I'll leave some time for Q&A with everybody. Cool. So as mentioned, I'm currently a transfer pricing assistant manager. I'm in my 6 years of work experience in the transfer pricing and international tax space. You can find me on LinkedIn should you wish to reach out and communicate later onwards. But yeah, something personal about me, I use the motto, be the light, because kindness is important. Balance is essential. That is both family, health, work, and social. Growth is challenging, but it's always welcome. So as mentioned, I did the SAIT program for the full domestic tax and not just the transfer pricing one. So the angle that I'm taking, it's talking about the tax profession, is from that angle. If we look at entering the work environment, one recommendation I would have is to definitely be intentional with where you apply. So go where you can maximize your career exposure and your growth. Vilna has very nicely discussed the benefits of being in the SAIT program and the type of exposure and the career growth that comes with having this accreditation. which is why I strongly recommend to apply to employers that actually offer the SAIT text articles. From a practical perspective, the benefits that I received, that I've received from the SAIT tax articles is, as Vilna said, your work experience will be fully recognized, which is beneficial. But mostly because your SAIT tax articles, you are tested on various tax aspects. So even though I was in the transfer pricing and the international tax division, I still did assignments on VAT, on individuals, on corporate tax, etc. So it really gives you the full picture of what is out there in terms of tax career paths. I found this very beneficial because coming out of university, I knew I wanted to specialize in tax, but I wasn't exactly sure in which tax stream. So the site is beneficial in that it gives you that exposure. And the approach that I took is then as I was doing the different different assignments, you're able to narrow down in terms of what you're actually good at, which tax stream you'd like to go into in future. And that is something that only can be achieved through practice. And of course, sites providing all these assignments really just enhances the level or the speed at which you can get this exposure. Another benefit is that since you get the different assignments from the different tax types, it also grows you in those different tax types. So although I'm specializing in transfer pricing at the moment, I still have clients which ask me something about whether VAT is relevant to that specific transaction. And because I've done the SAIT tax articles, I'm able to comment on, my knowledge of VAT. Although it's limited, I can advise whether or not there are VAT consequences. If so, you can refer them to the relevant person to assist in that regard. I think, the last two benefits that I touched on, I think it really is just emphasizes how being a SAIT member enhances your tax career. Then we get to different tax streams, and the ones presented on these slides are just a couple of them. And also, please bear in mind that there's different terminology used or classifications and grouping of the different tax streams, but the ones I have listed are the generic ones. But like I said, they vary from company to company. So what I've done after listing the different categories, I've included some examples of what that tax division encompasses, just for you to have a feel of the type of work that you can expect from that category. So if we start at the corporate tax, so in that tax stream, your work experience would entail tax compliance. So that is the completing and submitting of company tax returns. Domestic tax opinions, mergers and acquisitions are just a couple of the work that you would do. Then we get to VAT and customs. There you'd perform VAT opinions, indirect tax risk analyses, import and export reviews, VAT restructuring, VAT returns. We get to transfer pricing, which is my favorite, the one I'm in, and that encompasses preparing documentation for either local clients or as a group, country by country reporting, something called financial modeling, dispute resolution in relation to transfer pricing, of course, SARB approvals, which is SARB stands for the South African Revenue Bank, and that approval requires performance of whether or not a company can take money out of South Africa. Then we get the international tax, and that's where you do the controlled foreign companies, works, group restructuring, determine permanent establishments, the place of effective management, opinions, etc. And the last category on the slide is individuals tax, and that encompasses tax compliance. So that includes individuals' tax return, their tax planning, residency certificates, tax clearance certificates, dispute resolution, estate and trust planning. I know I have said quite a lot in terms of the different tax streams, and there's so much to do within the different tax streams. It's all, and I'd also like to emphasize that sometimes you can have two tax streams merged at a company. So I've worked at a company where the transfer pricing and international tax are merged. And in those instances, depending on the company structure, you get to choose whether you want to focus more on transfer pricing, do a bit of both, etc. So that emphasizes that companies are quite flexible in terms of helping you grow in whichever direction you choose to go into for tax purposes. Okay, then we get to the international exposure. Yeah, I'm very, thank you, Vilna, for covering this aspect very nicely. But from a practical perspective, and it agrees to Vilna, you are able to find work overseas with the South African tax qualifications, subject to work experience. So I say that because after completing the SAIT tax articles, I had a couple of friends who actually obtained jobs overseas with just their 3 years of work experience and obtaining the tax qualifications. The work experience also, I would say, is a contributing factor in terms of which country you go to. I say that because through your client's work, one receives exposure to the various country legislation, right? So that it also exposes you to what is out there. But if you have more work experience with certain jurisdictions, it also is a contributing factor to helping you obtain work overseas. However, it's not a limiting factor per se. Like Vilna said, having a site accreditation, it's already putting you one step ahead. And whichever country you go to, you're able to see whether there'll be an additional assessment that you're required to take in order to prove and substantiate that you either know that country's legislation or you're able to grow in that country's legislation. Yes, and also client work, as I said, it gives you exposure to the various country legislation. If, for example, VAT in South Africa, we have VAT in South Africa, which is value added tax. And in other countries, it could be called goods and services tax. So at the end of the day, the names are different, but the principles are the same. And the principles are the same, but there's also different or can be extensions in terms of how you treat that VAT in that specific country. But I believe that obtaining your work experience is something that's able to grow you in terms of adapting to different legislation. Work-life balance, and I think this is my second last slide. This is a very important one for me, and as I mentioned in the beginning, I really believe in having a work-life balance. And notably, and I included this in italics, is that please remember that work-life balance is unique to every individual, and it looks different at different stages and different phases of your life. So based on my experience, if I were to give any tips and tricks on obtaining a work-life balance, I would say one first needs to aspire to have one. So to have a work-life balance, because your career is a marathon and not a sprint. And I say that because I remember going back to my varsity days, I had test week, for example. And there you're able to just solely focus on studying. And after you write your test, you have a period just to relax. Whereas in the work environment, most of you know it's not the case. It's a case of having to prioritize your work as well as juggling your studies and being able to study when it's suitable, when you are able to, taking into account that you also use a lot of energy, brain power, etc. during your working day. So it's very important for me to establish, and what I do is I establish a routine, especially in the beginning days, is I'd establish a routine in terms of when do I work, when do I do varsity, when is there social time. And that leads to the next point, which is to explore your boundaries within your parameters. So, for example, I knew that I'm more efficient, my brain activity is more efficient later in the day. And that's when I would move to do the more complex work scope later in the day, because I'm enhancing on my efficiency at that particular point in time. Then I would do something more admin intensive earlier in the morning, just so that I'm being productive throughout the different stages in my day. So that is an example in terms of being familiar with what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and how you can bring it into the working environment. The third bullet point is compromise is essential. Like I said, it's important if you balance in between work and studying, there will be times where you're working and studying and you can't necessarily have a social aspect, but you can rather be home and just have some downtime. If that's a situation, compromising in that respect for me is what helped me get through, because I would make the most of the moment. So although I wanted to go out and social, and I couldn't, and I just had limited relaxing period, it just adds value to appreciating that time, taking time to actually switch off for a little bit before I embark on the next assignment or task that I need to get through. Another thing is resilience and flexibility when things don't go according to plan. As we know, life is full of surprises, and it's full of even more surprises when you're doing your SATE articles and you're juggling many more things. But honestly speaking, the only reason I got through my SATE articles was just for not giving up. Though I encountered a number of challenges during my time. During 2020, that's when I did my SATE articles, as well as my Master of Philosophy in International Tax. And that was the year I had random medical issues where I was in hospital for 3 months, and it threw off everything. I had a complete plan of how I was going to tackle everything, but being sick is something you can't control, right? And that's just how life happens. You get clients who give you or ask you to do certain things, which is out of your control. It takes more time, disrupts your schedule, but being able to bounce back from that is truly what will get you far in life, especially in the tax career. I say especially in the tax career because we know how tax is always evolving. There's always growing that development within the tax field, which requires you to grow yourself in order to be able to deal with that aspect so that you can help your client. So yeah, resilience and flexibility are of vital importance. Then my second last point is to know your strengths and maximize on these. So this speaks to, again, exploring your boundaries and knowing your parameters. So I know that I'm stronger at doing, for example, international tax. So if that's the case, if I'm struggling to grasp the concept of something else, I always say to myself, okay, but you're so good at this, so you are able to get through that, you are able to learn it. So it goes back to recognizing what you are strong at, what you're capable of, and using that to enhance and motivate yourself to grow in a different area. Because tax is so versatile and so huge that it requires you to, at most times, be outside your comfort zone. And in order to be successful outside your comfort zone, you have to be, you encourage yourself using your strengths and maximizing on those. Then this is a very last point, my last point, but also very, very important, is that please remember that resting should be part of your work-life balance equation. As much as we'd all love to be robots and get everything done, be super efficient, be finished at 6 p.m. with all the working and all the studying, sometimes your body just doesn't allow. Sometimes it's a matter of your productivity and your efficiency is a lot lower, but the fact that you're still progressing in something is progress in itself. Although it's not at the level that you expect it to be, it's still progress. And I think that's very important when performing or when going through your SATE articles and entering the working environment is to always recognize that you are still moving and to have that growth mindset. And the growth mindset comes with being kind to yourself, being flexible, compromising, and all the other points I've mentioned previously.
So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Ms. Rufense Masha, who's going to be sharing on a profession as a chartered accountant.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone that's online. So I was just invited to share my journey as a chartered accountant and how it's been so far. So I guess where I am, I've been 10 years in this whole journey since varsity. So I did my honors in, now that I think about it, it was 2013 that I completed my honors and started articles the next year, which was 2014. So I finished then, I was doing articles with Deloitte at the time. So finished articles 2016. So since 2017, after finishing articles, I've always been an entrepreneur, a risk taker, an adventurer. And I'll give you a little bit on why I actually started studying accounting. And the reason was that I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that's why my parents convinced me to now study accounting. So since then, I started my own consulting firm. So giving small businesses advisory services, which was accounting, bookkeeping, tax, and all taxes, whether it's VAT or corporate tax. I also had a few corporate finance clients, so valuations and all of that. And we also worked a lot with Sage. So helping our clients be, more technologically savvy as well. And that was actually the main business that we had. So that is still running. It's a business that's still running. The name is Accelerate. At the moment, so last year was our 6th year. So I then sold off my shares because at the moment I'm now studying again, trying to do my master's in business administration. And I guess my future looks like I'll probably go back into the academic space, maybe training or part-time lecturing, but definitely still businesses on the side. So that's basically my career since then. I'll also just share a few things about when I was studying, what I used to do. So I remember with my study days, I've always been a person who needs both sides. So yes, I take things seriously, but I also play as well. So serious work and serious play. So enjoy the varsity days when you don't have responsibilities. I think some of you are doing part-time working, part-time studying, which can be quite a challenge. So I did full-time studies at the time. So as Atlahang was saying, it's very important as a person to really find your balance, and balance is different for everybody because also once you start working, it's completely different, especially if you're working for, I know the audit firms are very hectic because they are deadline driven. So there's some periods where it's quite strenuous. There were nights where you would leave the office at around 3 and have to be back by 8 o'clock. So your mental well-being is something that you definitely have to take care of. So in varsity, I think what I would have done a little bit differently is really taking the work that I do like serious, master everything that you're studying. I think at the end of my journey, all I wanted was just to pass and to leave because I think I was just tired, but that's something I probably would have changed to make sure that I get those high marks. I get the 80s and maybe even 90s, because right now you're focusing on more being a technical accountant. So your technical work is very important because you're the one who will start applying it in articles, and they rely on first year and second years when it comes to their technical abilities. Whereas from third year, you're now becoming more of like I guess an all-rounder accountant, where you're able to speak to people who didn't even study accounting, but still explain what the laws and the rules are. And that's why the second board exam is more practical than the first board exam. And while you're in varsity, network as much as possible. I think that's something that was probably shared in all your spaces. Leave a good impression. Even when you're working, make sure you network. A lot of people that I still engage with right now are people that I did articles with. They're all at their different spaces, and we can always come and collaborate together. If there's certain things that we don't really know or understand, we can come together on a WhatsApp group and discuss that. So that would be my advice. Make sure technically while you're in varsity, you're focusing on being like a technical expert of what you're doing. And while you're working, speak up as as much as possible. Know why you are there and what you want to achieve. And when it comes to the corporate environment, it gets a bit tricky. I think we all kind of understand that at the end of the day, there are people that are maybe not going to be in favor of you, and it can get people down quite a bit. But always speak up and speak to somebody, because I remember experiencing some of those challenges when I was still at Deloitte and doing my articles. And I kind of suffered in silence for like my second year. And then when I started speaking to people was when I got the right advice. And even some partners at the time, you know, they gave me information and support during those articles. So where you're working, they will also give you a lot of support. Yeah, so that's basically my journey. So I'm more on the entrepreneurial side. I love the fact that I do have the flexibility, and I just like, you know, creating, you know, something that's never been created before. So from next year, I'll be pushing my entrepreneurship side again, but I just want to get this master's done and dusted. Yeah, and I think that's basically the advice from my side. Okay, so I do see there are some questions. Can we apply at your firm? Yes, you can. So at the moment, the firm it's not a psych training center. So yes, you'll learn a lot more about the products. And I'm not there anymore. As I said, I did sell my shares, but it's still operating. So I'll give you the details of HR and just see if they are hiring people at the moment. So that's the question from Bongiwe, as well as Nledisi. Then should I go to the next question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, how did you get clients once you started your own company? So a lot of my managers, that's why I'm saying building relationships is very good. So my first year, my managers really encouraged me to just take the journey because I was still young. And they then gave me some of the contacts that they know of people who are maybe now CEOs in different companies that I can approach for accounting services. So that's where I started. Yeah, so your word of mouth and referrals they're quite good in this industry for getting clients. Some other platforms that I got clients from, it's all these like places where like Find an Accountant. I also found clients from there. So putting your profile there, even on Psycha, when you put your profile on Psycha, people can also message you. So yeah, and then after that, it was mainly referrals and word of mouth. Once you do a good job, you will definitely keep getting more clients.
That out. I think there's another question here. It says, good day. Can I please ask if there are any organizations or firms that offer voluntary work?
Okay. I believe, I mean, everybody would be open for people who want to volunteer. So I would also say maybe start with the big four. I can also connect you with the company that I had started as well, that's still running. So you can maybe send me a message. I did put my email somewhere, but now in the chat, I think it disappeared. But I will put it again, my personal email, so that you can reach out to me so I can help.
Okay, thank you. We'd really appreciate that. I think we'll take more questions. Someone says, that's William J. What advice would you give to prospective students who are applying to the Big Four?
Okay. So obviously have your goal in mind. So when I went into the Big Four, I was interested in financial services, because you can go general or you can go, specialize in different places. So with Deloitte, there was financial services. So that's the banks, it's medical aids, insurance companies, pension funds as well. So my reason for going with Deloitte was that, and first because I also wanted to look into doing my CFA, and then also look at the opportunities for you afterwards. So they have this thing called JIT in Deloitte, where when you finish your articles, you go overseas for I think about 3-4 months. At the time that I was doing articles, they weren't taking as many people. So look at what programs they have. If you want to do secondments, how does the program work on their side? And yeah, they all have a very good reputation. I wouldn't say which one is better. I wouldn't be able to say. They do have a different culture. So with all of them, I think speak to people that did their articles there or are still there as managers, and visit an office and just see if you feel that the culture aligns with your kind of personality. So Deloitte did try push that, we're young, we're fun. We like to, have fun. So that's why I chose Deloitte compared to the others. I hope I answered your question, unless you had something specific.
Thank you so much, Rufense. I think you answered that question very well.
I'd like to know, VEC work, is it best to keep looking at the sites for that? Because I feel like either every time I click there, they're closed or they've already passed or something like that, or is it best to go directly to like offices in order to gain better information?
Oh, really? Because VAC work is usually the longer holidays. So June and December.
June and December.
Yes.
And do they occasionally close, like, let's say 2 weeks before June, or maybe apply in March for the June one?
Start looking at applying from March, April, because May they're then finalizing the intake for the June holidays.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you for your advice.
And then the same with December, Jan holidays. Look at maybe around September, October, so that November, when they're finalizing, you also part of that.
So this one says, can I do articles on CIPA accredited centers? I'm doing BCom in financial accounting science.
All right. With that, remember CIPA and SAICA are also very different. So it depends. If you want to still go CA route, you have to do it with a SAICA accredited center. So I believe with your BCom financial accounting, if you do continue, you first have to do your honors and your CTA, and then you do your articles with the SAICA firm. But some firms do take you while you're still doing your honors or CTA. But the Big Four, you have to have done your honors and CTA before they take you.
We'll move forward to the next speaker, Thabo Mabena, who is the chairperson of ABASA, the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants of South Africa, Unisa student chapter.
Thank you very much, Program Director. My name is Thabo Mabena, and I am the chairperson of ABASA Unisa student chapter. So ABASA stands for the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants of Southern Africa. So ABASA was established in 1985 to promote the professional interest of Black persons engaged in the accounting profession. So ABASA is the oldest and largest professional membership organization focused specifically on Africans and the people of color in the accounting, finance, and business related fields. Abasa was established by the first Black chartered accountant. And when you are part of Abasa, you are part of a network that provides opportunities for growth. We share an ethos that says lifting as we climb. As Abasa Unisa student chapter, we are a voluntarily student organization and a mass organ of the mother body of Abasa. We are committed to the transformation and betterment of the society in general and institutions of higher learning and training and the College of Accounting Sciences and the College of Economics and Management Sciences. We are an academic structure recognized by the University of South Africa and the College of Accounting Sciences under the Student Representative Council. Our mission as a student chapter is established with the keen interest to advance and advocate for the rights of aspiring Black accountants within the university. We are equally an organization that strives to promote excellence amongst aspiring Black accountants. We commit to uplift and provide knowledge and exposure to our members about available opportunities and career paths within the accounting profession. Most importantly, we are committed to feeding the accounting profession with a whole-rounded, sound Black graduates who are independent thinkers and problem solvers. We embark on programs and activities we embark on programs and activities that address inequalities and create access and opportunities to Black persons in the accounting profession. And our vision is to ensure that members adhere to the highest professional and ethical standards, strengthen the accounting profession, and to promote good financial management and governance in the public and private sector, to promote accountancy as a career among students and young people, as well as to provide academic and practical support to aspiring accountants. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? As Abasa Unisa student chapter, the student support programs that we have. Previous slide, please. Okay, I'll explain the membership process so long in the meantime. Then we'll go to the, okay, I can just mention we support students by maintaining a strong working relationship with key stakeholders in the accounting profession and proactively engage with professional bodies, management of the institution, and funding institutions, amongst many. We provide academic and practical support to aspiring accountants for the profession to become representative of the demographics of Southern Africa. All this is done through mentorship programs, inductions, network sessions, vacation work, school visits, and many more. Then the membership of Abasa, how you become a member of Abasa Unisa student chapter. We have an online form that you fill in. Once you have completed that form, we add you on our WhatsApp group. And from that WhatsApp group, that's when you will receive communication on our initiatives, our network opportunities, internships, bursary opportunities, and many more. So the membership currently is 100 rands, which is renewable annually. So we are working on a model in which students do not actually pay this 600 fee, but is cushioned by our stakeholders and our strategic partners. So I can say for the past year, we've managed to make our membership free, and we're still looking for a working model where students can actually become members for free and benefit from all the opportunities that we currently have. Next slide, please. So our strategic partners and collaborators. So as a student chapter, we are a recognized academic structure under the College of Accounting Sciences. And this means that we are a representative of students. We are the middle people between management of the College of Accounting Sciences and its students. So we get to engage with the college about student concerns, student issues and find ways in which we can resolve these issues. Then we have Auditor General as one of our partners who assist us in our programs, who actually are keen to invite our students for their articles and their training programs. Then we have FACET, we have FinForum. FinForum is the Financial Information and Development Society. So what they are busy with now is the JSC Challenge, where students get to join the challenge. Then you get to win prizes. First prize is 30,000, second prize is 20,000, third prize is 10,000. And amongst, if you win the first prize, you'll also win an international trip to visit one of the stocks exchange. So to join that challenge is completely free. All you need to do is to sign up as a FinForum member. We'll give you a FinForum code. Then when you use that code to register on the JSC site, you will be given approximately 1 million virtual money. This is not real money, it's just virtual money, which you will use to trade. Then if you become the first team or you win the first prize, that's when you will receive your prize money. So we've done initiatives with ACCA, SEMA, SAIGA, and SAIPA, and we intend to do most of some of those initiatives again, and we look forward to the partnership and collaborations in which we used to have in the past. So I thank the program director and the organizers for inviting Abasa. I would like to encourage students to participate in our initiatives and in our programs. As a student chapter, we are fortunate enough to be given the platform to sit in boardrooms and discuss student issues, and all they require is participation from us. So one module in accounting science has approximately 4,000 students, and our database only consists of about 200 students, and that is not representative of the demographics in which we represent. And I just want to make you aware that the issues of Unisa are national issues, and they need to, our database needs to be representative of those students in which we represent. So it's important for students to engage with us. It's important for students to participate in our initiatives. Just months ago, we had an engagement with Deloitte because with any programs in which UNISA students are discriminated against or not included in those programs due to various reasons in which they have. So we engage the big four firms into these kind of issues and how to create opportunities for UNISA that accommodates UNISA students. Currently now we have AGSA who are now changing the narrative and are actually giving UNISA students a chance and giving them opportunities to apply for vacation work and to apply for training contracts. And we want all the big four firms to follow suit, because we believe that Unisa produces quality graduates of a sound mind, which are problem solvers in the community. I thank you very much, Program Director, and I'm willing to take any questions from the floor. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. It says, "Good day. Kindly share the details that we can use to join Abasa."
Okay, thank you. I just shared our email address on the chat box as well. So you can email us at abasaunisa@outlook.com. Then all information regarding the JSC challenge and everything, and the process of actually registering to become a member of Abasa will be shared from there.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. Thank you very much. It says, "How does Abasa respond to racial challenges faced by Black accounting students?"
So with our keen interest focused on Black accounting students, we first need to identify the problem with the curriculum. Is it relatable to Black students? Then we look at the pass rate. As you have noticed, the ITC and APC and ITC results, it is mostly Black students that are affected by these exams. And we go on to engage with management to ask, if you are so confident about this curriculum, then why is it that African or Black accounting students are failing these modules? Then we find ways and we find models in which we can change the curriculum to be relatable to Black students so that they can be advanced and be able to pass.
We do have another question in the chat, which goes as follows. As a student chapter, are they able to speak with Unisa management in terms of queries where schooling is concerned? For example, the issue of CTA students wanting to write at a venue instead of home.
Question. So as Abasa, so we have our mother body, which is Abasa National. Then we have our regional body, and then a student chapter. So on a student chapter level, we get to engage with management in terms of recommendations because we're dealing with the CTA issue is one amongst many issues, many challenges that we have. So for instance, we might have an accreditation issue in terms of students writing at home instead of venue-based. And there are many changes through our engagements that we were able to resolve. For one is the FI concession. As you have noticed, under the College of Accounting Science, we have no FI concessions anymore. And previously, even pre-COVID, we changed from writing supplementaries from online to venue based, and this was to protect our accreditation and to be able to ensure that we maintain that accreditation. So we engage from time to time, even the issue of pass rates, and we're constantly working on models on how to resolve these issues.
We do have one that has just popped in now. It says, "Is it not discrimination when employers want only Afrikaans speaking workers?"
Yes, in my opinion, it is discrimination. And look at some of the criteria in which accounting firms require. They do not speak to the larger demographic of, they do not speak to basically Black students. For one, they would require you to have a car. Where would you, fresh out of university, as a Black student, where will I be able to find a car? You know, they must be able to speak Afrikaans. Most of us have studied in townships which we were not given the choice to study Afrikaans. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing, and as Abasa, these are the things that we are seeking to address, to readdress, so that African Black students are not discriminated. And some form of discrimination, they are so subtle that we can't even realize it, because the issue of of maybe owning a reliable transport, who is more likely to have a reliable transport fresh out of university between a black student and a white student? And those are the challenges that we need to readdress to these firms, to say, you need to accommodate us. Your firms need to be representative of the demographics in South Africa.
However, I wanted to understand leadership as ABASA student chapter specifically. What programs do you have in place that will assist particular accounting students throughout the year?
Thank you very much for your question, Kolile. So we have a program of action which we need to implement annually. So one of the things that are on our program of action is the issue of extra classes. Currently, there are two to three streams of classes under the College of Accounting Science. And we are saying as ABASA that they are not enough. Students need a different perspective from either not internally but externally. So one of the things that we did last year was to partner with SAPRO, and they brought their tutors in Unisa to provide extra lessons to accounting science students. Other programs that we also initiate on our program of action is an accounting indaba, where we invite all students to state their queries, to state all their problems directly to management, where we invite the dean and the college management, where they can voice out all their concerns, where the dean is also given a platform to respond to those concerns. Then we have other programs where we call firms to give us practical corporate situations where students need to resolve them. Then they will receive certain prizes to the student that comes with the most innovative idea, so that exposes students to what happens in the professional environment, and it exposes them in ways in which they will be expected to conduct themselves and stuff like that. So say these are some out of the many initiatives that we have through our program of action.
One question says, what do I do when I am not an SA born? I want to do my articles, but I have permanent residence and ID because I was once rejected with regards that I'm not South African born citizen.
Thank you very much. This is a very new issue to me, so I will have to engage further with the students and also to inquire on my side. Actually, thanks for that question, because that will also give me exposure into how to handle these kind of situations moving forward.
So the very last question I'll take from the chat says, where does one see these programs such as the accounting indaba, as not everyone is based in Tshwane or can go to a campus?
Thank you. So most of our programs are hybrid to accommodate all campuses around. So the challenge we are having is that students do not want to participate. The reasons why we are having these initiatives in Tshwane is because we do not have other members in other regions who are willing to initiate these programs. So if we have someone in the Limpopo region, for instance, who is keen to have these initiatives on their campus, then they can invite us. Then we are more than willing to participate and to be willing to conduct those programs at their specific region. So for now, we are doing all our initiatives in Tshwane, but we ensure that we include live streaming and other hybrid options so that students are accommodated who cannot be physically within us in the venue.
Otherwise, thank you so much, Mr. Thabo, for your time. We have actually reached the end of our workshop today, and I'd like to ask Mr. Fatwani Makahane to please give us the vote of Thanks. He is the student counselor at Unisa Ekurhuleni Region Service Center.
Let me take this opportunity to thank everyone who has come to the workshop. And I think it was fruitful for all the accounting students. I know I'm not an accounting student, or maybe have done accounting in my life, never did that. But I'm so impressed by the way it has been done, and the speakers were available. Lastly, the guy, Tabo, you know what, you are well vested in your area, and everyone was here was well vested. It's just that I managed to also hearing you on towards the end. And I think that is the way in which our students should understand that because you answered question which most students always ask. That's why I'm saying well vested, which students always complain about whether Unisa qualifications, not only accounting qualification, it's well recognized or they can get a job and so on. You managed to reduce the fear that student has, which is the question every student, even the accounting students, have questions. Why can't we get a job? Why are we not taken by this? I think it was also mentioned in this workshop as well, students complaining. Yeah, and it's interesting to note that we are doing fairly well, because this is the way in which things are at the moment worldwide. And also some universities have adopted the similar trends of student writing the exam at home. And it's not like a student are copying. Yes, there might be those who are copying, but however, they are not significant, because there is a lot of things which are done to reduce the number of those kind of students. But nevertheless, that's not the purpose of the closure. I think it's important that students, every time, you must always attend a workshop, so that you can be able to get this kind of information, because you will never get it anywhere except if you come to our workshops. We are still going to have several workshops which are different. Please, whenever you have an opportunity, try to attend our workshop. And as well, our people who are working on the background, they will try to forward you the information and the recordings for those who did not manage to attend due to the several reasons. We know that there are load shedding in the area. We know that there's a lot of things which are happening within the country which might have stopped you from attending the workshop. Having said that, I think I want to thank everyone and all protocol observed, because I cannot say to each and every individual by names and their portfolios, because I might end up messing up the process or mentioning you in the wrong, using the wrong title and so on. But make sure that everyone is welcomed, and we thank you for your contribution. We also thank you for listening, students, and asking relevant questions. Please feel free to do so, even asking after, because I think most or all of our guests have given you their contacts in order for you to ask, so that you will alleviate all the challenges that you are faced with. Having said that, I want to put this to a closure to say thank you very much for coming to attend, and they continuously come and attend our workshop. And our guests, please do not stop whenever we're asking you to come and help our students, because we really want our students to be well informed. Because if they are less informed, we are going to take away, or we are putting out students there in the jungle who are not well informed. So when they are competing with students from other universities, we might have a challenge, and our students will come back and haunt us. So in order to avoid that, let's give us relevant information, and let them be well informed before they go to the outside world to show their skills which we have given to them. And based on that, I'm saying thank you very much to everyone who has been attending the workshop. I really appreciate that. Thank you.